And look at the, athletes sitting at the start. The first race of the day is always the hard one in the morning because you're first up at the start. You're sitting there for a long time.
When I see that you are both straight and ready, I will start you like this. Attention! Go. Get ready, please.
So we're ready to go in the first race of the day, the Prince Albert Challenge Cup, Columbia University.
Attention!
Poised and ready to go against Goldie Boat Club A. Really big pressure. It'll be a mix of excitement and nervousness for some of the world's best rowers in action at this most famous of regattas today. And the knockout continuing.
And yesterday in their quarter-final races, there was not much difference between these two crews to the barrier and to Fawley, which are the first two markers down the course. So be interesting to see, how much they expended yesterday in those races. And I'm expecting a tight one, definitely to halfway.
So the Columbia University boat, as you can see, at the top of the picture, regular at Henley Royal Regatta in the past 6 seasons. This is their 4th appearance. This crew one half of the lightweight varsity 8, so very interesting to see how they go. They're down a little bit early on, aren't they?
It's all about getting into that rhythm. The cocks who's steering the boat at the front there, keeping their eye out, making sure they're in contention, keeping the crew on top of their rhythm, on their race plan, and making sure they're just going through the processes down the track. Because the race doesn't, we always talk about in rowing, the race doesn't start till halfway. The first part is just to get into rhythm. And the second part of the race, from halfway on, is where the real action really starts.
So Isabella Zoinks, the cox for Columbia University, knows she has her work cut out early on in this race. They look pretty relaxed, don't they, Columbia, despite the early deficit that they're going to need to make up.
And that's a great start from Goldie there. Gone out the blocks, taking the initiative early, got in front. They can look back at their opposing crew. And Goldie, these guys dominated the boat race this year. 3 of these guys were in Goldie. The 2-man was, John T. Page was in the spare for the boat. And obviously the cox was the individual who coxed the blue boat to victory as well when they had a complete whitewash of Oxford.
Yeah, it's going to be huge experience in that Goldie boat over the last 12 months or so. Can they put that all together in the next 5 minutes or so?
They're coached by Richard Chambers, who's an ex-international lightweight who was in the team with me for a number of years, silver medalist at the London Games, and he moved over to the Dublin Rio, and he's the assistant coach now.
Silver medalist, very unlucky not to be gold medalist, as I remember it.
Very unlucky.
Very much the pace setters going into that regatta, but there's never much in it with lightweights, is it? It's always very marginal.
And unfortunate that event is no longer part of the programme, which is very sad to see.
So Richard Chambers will be nervously watching on from the bank, feeling fairly helpless.
And with his new boss now, he's got Rob Baker's moved over now as the head coach, taken over from Steve Trapmore. They've been working together. This is the kind of first thing they've been doing together is really for Henley in preparations for next year's boat race.
So the Prince Albert Challenge Cup, Columbia University trailing the Goldie boat in our first race of the day here on semi-finals day. Who will be competing tomorrow in the big final.
It's always difficult when you're racing, having the crew being in front, not being able to sense where they are. You're kind of relying on your cox to give you that information.
George Patterson, Levy Beckett, George Patterson, Torrance Smith as well, Sebastian Crape in the stroke seat, Isabel Zoints, the cox in the Columbia University boat. That have some work to do. They'll lengthen a bit down now.
It's a really strong rhythm from the Goldie boat though. They've just really got into that rhythm early. With this lever in the boat past, on top of it. It looks dynamic, it's not looking heavy, so that's good. There's a spring to it.
Tell me about the arrangement of the seating, Mark, with the oars and on which sides they prefer, because there's a contrast in strategy here, isn't there? The Columbia boat we can see in our picture there, as opposed to Goldie.
Yeah, they've got a standard rig, really is what the Columbia boat is, and there's a bucket one where you have 2 athletes in the middle, on the same side, and sometimes that can be, you know, due to the power of the crew. You know, it's more dominant on one side, or just maybe someone isn't as good technically, and it's better to have someone in front of them kind of assisting them, pretty much giving them something to exactly follow, rather than that kind of gap in a sweet boat where the person on your side could be like 2 seats in front of you. But it's all up to the crew and the coach to work out the best way to kind of maximise the return of their athletes and the output they're going to give down the track.
Certainly working for Goldie at the moment, isn't it? Big tactical decision, but they have clearly worked it out, and they've got a good plan here, and they look like they've got this race under control. Lovely water, isn't it, this time of the morning?
It just looks so slick. It's so well drilled technically. All that time they spent in the 8, so they've been able to, they will spend a lot of time in 4s and Cox 4s. And this was always the tough decision after the boat race. You know, do they kind of have the summer off, or do they decide to come to Henley? And, you know, I'm sure they're pleased with the decision they've made by being at this position, leading their semi-final in the Princess Albert Challenge Cup.
Yeah, so it was a triumph for Goldie in the reserve boat race, where 4 of these athletes raced it, and beating ISIS 2.5 lengths for the first time since 2010. And it looks like they'll be on finals duty tomorrow here at Henley. Noticeably quieter the water at this time of day, isn't it? You wait till mid-afternoon, on the right of your picture, all the pleasure craft will be churning up the water and giving the rowers a different sort of challenge.
And people moored up on the side with their picnics and champagne and pins and obviously water to stay hydrated today, because it's going to be super hot.
Heading for the line then, Goldie will be winning the first semi-final of the day. The boat, Columbia University. Really easy.
Yeah, they obviously executed their race plan perfectly. To get out in front, there's always a run. You want to be able to look back at your opponents. And just dominated from very early on.
Over the line they go. Goldie, the winners, and into the final on Sunday, beating Columbia University pretty comfortably. They had control right from Temple Island down the course. So that was an impressive start to the day. The local boat, UK based. And the Americans will enjoy their Saturday night out in Henley.
Yeah.
But they'll be hugely disappointed not to have reached the finals, going out at the semi-final stage.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and that's the beauty of Henley though. As a winner, you know, it's a knockout event. There's no repechage, no second chance. Winner takes all.
So Goldie paddling to the boathouse. That start so important, isn't it? And Goldie right from the start put down a marker.
They just looked technically better off the blocks there, and were able to maximise their output when they were laying it down, laying the big guns down off the blocks.